It was widely expected that sooner rather than later, Housing Minister Soita Shitanda will be called upon to take political responsibility over the allocation of houses under the National Housing Scheme, especially with his admission Tuesday that his wife was one of the beneficiaries.
I heard somebody on radio saying that I should resign because my wife went to buy a house.
The house his wife bought in Kakamega has become the subject of debate, with questions being raised as to whether or not the transaction could have given rise to conflict of interest.
For the case of the house my wife bought in Kakamega, there was nobody interested in buying the house. There was no competing interest. Where there is a competing interest, you stand the risk of conflict of interest.
Let us investigate that to find out that there was no other person who had actually applied.
That the National Housing Corporation, as a parastatal, falls under the Housing Ministry, has also seen the Mass Group CEO question whether the allocation committee would have been partial in allocating a house to the minister's wife and high-ranking public servants, including Assistant Minister Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, who was allocated a unit in Kileleshwa.
It's actually, in fact, unreasonable for him to expect Kenyans to believe that the National Housing Corporation's allocation committee did not know that this was his wife.
I don't think it would be undue pressure on them. And by the way, my wife applied for a house in Madaraka Estate, which she never got.
This actually is something that cannot be determined purely by the minister, but should be the subject of a real in-depth investigation.
That house was bought for the family. When we leave Nairobi next year, we go back to Kakamega, we will need somewhere to stay. Yeah, I'm a Kenyan. Would you want me to go and stay in a slum in Kakamega?
Shitanda further argues that the houses in Kakamega and in many other areas, including Kileleshwa, are not all taken, and as such, the issue of conflict of interest did not arise. According to an internal audit report conducted at the National Housing Corporation, there was alleged conflict of interest and abuse of office in allocating the houses. It says about 10% of the units in every scheme was to be reserved as special cases at the discretion of the managing director to be allocated to high-ranking personalities known as parachuted allottees. The managing director, James Reither, and chairman Bosiro Ogero were found culpable. But while the chairman was suspended 6 months ago, the MD was suspended just 3 weeks ago, and his term in office ends on the 31st of July. Both were sacked on Tuesday.
The action he took yesterday should have been taken in February.
Shitanda now awaits a probe by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission before taking further action, as he says those found culpable will be dealt with. Hussein Mohamed, Citizen Live at 9.